You comfortable?
I'm very comfortable.
See, I didn't even let you get up all the way.
Yeah. Well, it's
How comfortable
I'm
I
a
want
little.
you to be.
I'm kind of ungainly. In all honesty, like I have noticed, I've started grunting when I like tie my shoes and get up, because I've officially hit my late 50s. You know that you do that. I do that kind of grandpa thing. That kind of like.
Well, I'll get to that in a minute. You really don't have to be that way because I'm older than you and I'm not that way at all.
You're not?
No, fuck no. But you're married.
Yeah, that's what it is.
But no one ever says, you say ungainly. No one ever says I'm gainly.
I'm going to say that you're gainly and I'm ungainly. How's that?
I don't even know what gainly is.
I don't think, yeah.
Ungainly, it must be the opposite of ungainly.
Yeah, gainly, yeah.
But no one's ever gainly.
Let's work that in, ladies and gentlemen, viewers. Let's work that in the vocabulary.
But,
someone if spry, if they're fit.
But how old are you?
57.
What about liquor?
I'm sober.
Oh, then you're completely fucked.
I had a bad dope trip in my 20s. I don't know if it was laced with something, but I was going through a really bad time, and I decided to wake and bake on Christmas morning while living in an abandoned beer brewery in Brooklyn, like a squatter. And
Wow.
I had a super bad trip. I started shaking. I was sweating. My muscles were like contracting in my arms. My heart was racing.
What year is this?
90.
Okay.
91.
Time out.
And then we're not done yet.
But it happened in the 90s.
Yeah.
So it was a fluke.
But I'm not done with my story.
Oh, sorry.
Because then I saw the face of God.
Oh.
And then I swore to the face of God that I would never smoke dope again.
What did he look like? What's this face look like?
It looked like, in all seriousness, it looked like a Mark Rothko painting. It looked like an abstract sunset, like over the Tahitian Ocean.
That's funny because I always thought God would look like James Woods. Because he's also a prick, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like God's a prick, and in kind of the same way James Wood.
The same way.
I mean, if you read.
But James Wood was brilliant in that there was he had a period of time when he was doing some of the best acting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Almost always as a prick.
Yes.
So how much we can call that acting is under discussion, but yes, he absolutely. Well,
you have zero fear of James Woods watching this podcast, and
I have zero fear of what James Woods can do to me.
It's a power play.
That's
okay,
what I have.
I get it.
No. You know what? I would love if James Woods did this podcast. By the way, I have all stripes on this show.
Did you hear his story about the 9/11 pilot practice thing from back in the day from 9/11?
Who are we talking about? Jim Woods?
Yeah.
No. What do you mean his story?
James Woods was on a plane to New York with the guys who flew into the Twin Towers before they flew into the Twin Towers, and he saw them doing a practice run.
Oh.
And he reported it to like the FDA.
Right.
And he was telling the story around the time, and he was like, these guys are like going to hijack a plane.
Well, see, the problem is he reported it to the FDA. If he had reported it to the FAA, a lot more people would have lived through 9/11.
They were like, listen, buddy, stop calling us. If you've got bad pork, call us. This is the wrong department. It's like, no, you've got to listen to me.
Yes. Now, there's a great plot for a movie. No, so are you saying that James Woods fabricated this story?
No.
So you think it's real?
It's legit.
Yeah,
it's
I believe it.
Absolutely
Yeah.
legit.
Yeah, I probably is too. Well, I mean, we do know that they were known to be people who were asking for instruction in how to take off, but no need for landing.
Landing, they would sleep, take naps. Like
a slight
Ahmed, wake up!
Clue.
We're going on landings now.
And the name is Mohammed Kablooey. All right. So let's get back to God.
Mm-hmm.
So you saw God.
I saw the face of God.
And you made this deal with him?
I just swore to the face of God. It was
that you wouldn't do this
again. It was like a teen caper movie. It's like, please God, get me through this, and I won't ever smoke pot again, or I won't ever do drugs again. I was doing a lot of drugs at the time. Well, let me amend that. I was doing some drugs at the time, but too many for a 21-year-old. So
Right. So if you smoke pot, if you smoke pot, it's not that you would fear that you would have an episode like that again, right? What you fear, you're saying, is that you would anger God because you'd be a welcher on the deal. No, I feel like that's what I'm getting from it.
I know
Is that
that's
right?
I know that's where you're going. No,
Is it?
That's not right. It wasn't.
Oh.
Drugs and alcohol were not good for me. They did not make my life better
Right.
at all.
Well,
They made them profoundly worse. So as I kind of went along that journey, I was like, you know what? I don't need any a little caffeine, no other medications for
Well,
me.
I can tell almost, or I would guess by looking at you that you don't drink, because you may think you're ungainly, but you've hardly aged. You don't look. Your face does not look like. You're generically middle aged. You could definitely play someone in their 40s easily.
I have a fat baby face. I don't have like a chiseled James Wood face like
fat.
you. It's a chubby face.
Chiseled James Wood face.
Yeah, you have like a gnarly, like etched, like one of
Now
the.
James Woods is in everything.
You're like one of the Ents. You're like one of the tree people
He's
from
not-
Lord of the Rings.
He's not a good-looking man, so I don't. I
No,
feel
you're
like,
not pockmarked.
No.
You're not pock
Oh,
riddled.
did we have to go there?
You're not.
I know, but now James Woods is like, I was okay when you just said I was a prick like God, but now we have to go to, that's not
I
right.
gave him his props on
I know.
his story.
Hey, you know what? Let me give you these props, James Woods. Even with that face of yours, you were attractive to women. You know why? Because women are not like men. Newsflash. Of course, they appreciate good looks, and sometimes they do fall for it. It certainly doesn't hurt. But they can fall for a guy like that because he's sexy. He may not be great looking, but to them, sexiness is deeper because they're deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can be like Humphrey Bogart was also a face like 2 Miles a Bad Road.
Yeah.
We were really piling up on poor
Spencer
Dave Ford.
Tracy.
Spencer Tracy wasn't bad looking. He just was mediocre looking.
Okay.
But yes, they just appreciate a guy with a pair of balls. It's better, of course, if they're good looking too.
I think it's edge. They like.
It's
they like
edge, right?
Yeah.
And James Woods had it. He was sexy to women, and he's always like getting with someone who's way, not in my world, but too young, mostly for society. I think he was like 59 when he got with a friend of his daughter who was like 20 or something.
Oh my God. Where are we going?
Well,
by the way, everyone under 45 is Googling James Woods right now because he's not. He's like he's relevant to us. Let's face it.
He's definitely not relevant to us, but we are fans of his work, and I hope you would agree with me. I don't know how indoctrinated you are. I hope not too much. That we don't have to share politics to be friends with people.
I agree 100%.
Oh, good.
1,000%.
Because I cannot stand the attitude of, if you don't agree with me, I unfriend you.
Remember the whole thing about like someone shook hands with George Bush
Yes,
Jr. at the U.S. Open or something like that, and
Ellen.
you shook hands with a war criminal.
It was Ellen.
Yeah.
You don't want to acknowledge that.
It was Ellen.
Why is that something we want to avoid? It was Ellen. It wasn't her fault.
It doesn't even matter who it was. The point is like...
You know who else is rather chummy with George Bush? I don't mean chummy like hey, George, Michelle Obama.
Yeah, both the Obamas.
And you know who Ruth Bader Ginsburg was very close
Scalia.
with? Scalia. And
You're not going to stump me, Maher.
What?
You're not going to stump me.
Did you call me Mayor? Did you say I'm Bill Maher?
We edit it to make it sound like I said Maher.
Wow, first you're late and now you mispronounce my name.
Wow.
I still like you, but
you were great on Politically Incorrect.
Thanks. And you were great on your show. That ended a while ago though. Anyway, I have a show now. So
how do I get
by the way, I know you hear this like a zillion times a day, but I was like the biggest fan of The Office.
Nice.
Oh my God. I remember we have taped on Friday since the beginning with Real Time. Thursday, your show was on. And so Thursday was my really hard cram night. I would like work my tail off, tape the show. This is the old DVR days. And it was like it was the carrot at the end of my long work night. It's like, I am exhausted. I'm getting into bed, and I know I checked it 10 times. I know I DVR'd The Office, and there's almost nothing as good as like going to bed like with an actual laugh, a laugh out loud.
Yeah.
I feel like it's therapeutic. I'm just pulling that out of my ass, but like if I can, I like to end my TV watching at night with something that'll make me laugh.
I think the word you use, therapeutic, is really interesting because I can't tell you how many times a day online and in person I hear from people, thank you for The Office, the laughter that it gave me, that it gave my family. That,
Oh yeah.
Healed us during COVID.
Yes.
And that's not, when I signed up for The Office, it's like, I want to buy a house, Bill Maher. I want to buy a house. I don't, I wasn't thinking about like giving laughter as a therapeutic remedy and a balm and a salve to a hurting populace. But what an honor it was to be a part of something like that.
No, I mean, I've had a lucky life, so I don't need like a laughter because, I worked 12 hours, cutting the heads off chickens on a conveyor line or something. I've been spared that kind of life, but not everyone has.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see why people who love that show the way I did, it would mean even more because you really, but even for my wonderful, lucky life, I remember just all those Thursday nights getting into bed, just bone tired from working on what I work on, just mentally exhausted. And that was like the fact that it was on Thursday. And of course, back then we were a little more tied to when things were on,
Yeah. Yep.
It just, and you couldn't like binge it or anything. You had to wait. And all those people, I mean, it was such a large cast, but they were all perfect. I mean, you got to play with such an A team. I mean, obviously you right at the top of it. I mean, you fucked that character in half from the first moment. And it was so specific, It was just like, I had this vague idea of Pennsylvania Dutch and, there's just, and everything you hit on was like, I never thought of it like that specifically, but that makes sense for my vague idea of what these weirdos in this area, not quite like riding the buggy, but adjacent.
Right, exactly.
And
adjacent.
you were always, because obviously you're working in the office. You're not there, but you're still rooted in there.
Yeah.
That was like, it was so different than any, I mean, was that how it was written, or
here's what's so great.
They must have had that idea of a character.
Well, everyone sings the praises of Greg Daniels, our showrunner, and I'm going to do it again because the way he worked and the way he synthesized comedy ideas is like no one I worked with before or since. And I brought in, when I first met with him and the writers, I brought in a bunch of family photos, and I have my relatives are farmers on both sides, Midwestern farmers on both sides of my family. Right. They're also really white trashy. And so, uncles and Camaros and stuff like that. And he's like, Dwight should have a, Camaro or something, some kind of hot, he saw the photo and he's like, and the farmer, and he's like, farmers. And he's like, and my grandparents used to farm beets in Poland.
Beets, I remember that.
And he was like, he'll be a beet farmer. And so it was always this synthesizing these ideas. And during my audition for Dwight, I literally said a line, which was my name. He just had me improvise like a talking head. So I was like, my name is Dwight Schrute. My father's name, Dwight Schrute. His father's name, Dwight Schrute. His father's name, Dwight Schrute. Amish. That was just an improv that I did, just kind of like fucking around.
Right.
And they're like, that's great. Let's make him Amish. So they're synthesizing. That wasn't like formulated in a writer's room like this would be funny. It's kind of like.
But not exactly Amish. Again, adjacent, because that's what your thing is saying. Like 4 generations back, the name was slightly different, just like we see all the time in America, the way we evolve. I mean, my name, Maher, when you go to Ireland, you see that name a lot. Mm-hmm. But it's also Meagher. There's like a lot of variations of it with more letters. So, you know, we evolve, and when that Dwight guy would do something in the modern office setting, that's what made it. To me, was the great comedy of it was that you're in this modern urban, not urban, but suburban setting,
Yeah.
but it's contemporary. And this guy, even though he's wearing the suit and the tie, there is something 19th century there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you just don't see that particular thing on sitcoms a lot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So when he brings in a dead goose or a half a dead deer,
when he fell for that another awesome character, what was the blonde who, Angela, who was, excuse me, but the nightmare girlfriend. Like, and of course, if you ever described a woman like that, you'd be canceled in 2 seconds. But you could actually show her.
That's true.
You know,
I hadn't thought of
because
that.
you have to pretend that all women everywhere are perfect ethereal creatures. I mean, they are. But of course, they're humans like everyone else, and there's some horrible ones. And that, to me, and of course, we've all known especially when we're young and we're dating, like whoever likes us is the standard. When I was certainly in my 20s, was like, if someone likes me and I find them pretty, that's good enough. And then some of them, I was tortured. There were girls who absolutely tortured me because they knew they could get away with it.
Right.
And that girl who tortures you, she's just never nice. Never nice to you.
Yeah.
And yet,
but hot sex. That was, it was clear that it was like insane chemistry. And they were so wonderfully odd and suited each other in their oddness. Like that's what I loved about it. Like she started as like this uptight Christian bitch. And that was like the kind of cliche that she started. And then Angela grew and morphed and lots of different facets came out. And that's another great thing about The Office. There's a lot of sitcoms. Characters start a certain way and they end a certain way. And you don't learn anything more about them. You don't see other facets, other nuances of the characters. But The Office characters, I won't say they grew and matured, but you just learned more about them and it made them more three-dimensional. And I think that's added to the lasting value of the show. But you know, towards the end of the show, you realize like, oh, Dwight and Angela, there's no one else they could ever possibly be with.
And how did it resolve? I don't remember.
They get married, they have kids.
Right.
And Dwight rules the office at the end. He gets the management gig. Yeah.
Oh, almost like Succession.
Yeah. The opposite of Succession.
Why opposite?
Because Kendall didn't, did you watch the last one?
Yeah, it's Tom.
Yet Kendall didn't get it.
Right, and why should Dwight?
Because he's been number 2 for 10 seasons. Everyone was rooting for Dwight.
Oh, yeah. I guess that's
Do you know what I mean? I was rooting for Kendall, even though he killed the guy.
Yeah, I forgot he was right. With Michael Scott, he was because he was,
And then Andy came in above him, and he was number 2 to Andy for the last couple years. And then there was, Robert California. He was always the number 2. So the audience was chomping at the bit for Dwight to, and I do think, like, with Succession, that last episode, spoiler alert.
Oh, everybody knows by now.
I really felt the Britishness of the creators and directors of Succession with that finale.
That is such an interesting statement. Why?
Because it was so unrelentingly dark and hopeless. And had it been an American showrunner, there would have been something for us, for those Roy kids, for us to believe in. Instead, you've got Roman smirking with a martini, just like he started, just, pathetic. Kendall, suicidal. The rug has been ripped out from under him. He has zero hope, even though he's got $3 billion in the bank.
Yeah.
And Shiv has sold her soul to her husband that doesn't love her and to the boss that backstabbed her. It's all hopelessness, unless you're a huge Tom fan. It's total hopelessness and despair. An American showrunner would have been like, Kendall and Roman get together and like, let's go buy Pierce after all. Yeah. And they walk off, and there would have been something for you to go, oh, I want, you know what I mean? Because that was me. I was really big-hearted about it. I was devastated. I was depressed for 2 days after that finale.
Really?
Yeah.
But did you like it? Did you think it was good?
No, I thought it was unreasonably hopeless. It didn't need to be that hopeless. yes, it's a tragedy. Yes, they're fucked up. They're traumatized kids. They weren't loved. They have the worst mother and the worst father in the world. And they have this most corrosive sibling rivalry you've ever seen. But at the same time, there's humanity there. And why not, as a storyteller, just give something to the audience that shows us that, they'll survive. They'll get through this. They will find a way to thrive, because that's what we humans do. We have terrible adversities and setbacks, and then we find like a weed in a crack in the sidewalk. We find a way to keep going on.
Wow, that's bleak. I mean, I hate to beat a dead horse, but maybe really try the pot again, because it wasn't that bad. First of all, we don't know what's going to happen to them. Yes, we saw them at the end of a bad day. Again, as you point out, they have billions of dollars. And I don't think Kendall's going to kill himself. And if he does, good fucking riddance. I have. Why would I care?
Whoa.
Why would I care about that prick? First of all, he is a murderer, so he probably should get the death penalty for what he did. And also, just from the beginning, like, I almost didn't watch the series because to your point about it, the very first episode they were almost so bad and so unattractive to me that I was like, why am I going to watch these people? And of course, that quickly changed. But in the very first episode, the pilot, Roman writes a check for $1 million on the ball field. Remember, they're playing, they take helicopters to this ball field. It's like a family tradition, so they can play a softball game, and they need to impress into the lineup so that there's 9 on one side, I guess, this Mexican kid. And Roman writes a check for $1 million if he will get a hit. Really? And then when the kid doesn't, he rips up the check in front of him. I'm like, this is just so fun. And I to this day, I think, I'm not sure if that wasn't the one flaw they had in that show, was that scene in the first episode, because I was so close to like never watching that show.
I think there's a lot of people that didn't, and I had to convince a lot of people, like, just trust me.
It was just so over the top.
It broke that rule of that Hollywood rule of, like, you've got to have likable characters. And
no, what are you talking about? That rule was broken a long time ago. Seinfeld broke that rule, and I mean, The Sopranos. There's lots of people that you don't.
Yeah, but how about despicable characters? How's that? Like, all kind of ultimately despicable characters.
I bet you, I don't know all these series, but if you went through like a lot of the successful scripted shows in this century, Breaking Bad and stuff like that, I think you find a lot of despicable characters. What was the one in the Western that HBO did?
Westworld?
No, not Westworld. Deadwood.
Deadwood, yeah.
Which I thought was awesome.
I loved that Deadwood.
Yeah, maybe that's a good example of, they did have redeeming qualities. They weren't evil in Deadwood, but no, I think we passed that boundary, but it was just like, well, there's and quickly I feel like I never saw anything like that after that in the show. I saw them acting like pricks, but it was sort of like, in the flow of where their life was, they didn't go out of their way to do something like that, to write $1 million check to a kid. It's like, I get it, they're rich. I get it, they're assholes. This was just hitting me over the head with it.
I did this show that no one saw called Backstrom, and we did 13 episodes for Fox, where I was like this fucked up alcoholic, brilliant detective solving a crime every 51 minutes, right? You would have loved it. And we got canceled, and the showrunner, Hart Hansen, he's like, shit, I should have written the puppy moment. And I was like, what, the puppy moment? He goes, yeah, because when you have like a despicable character, mean-spirited.
You were?
I was kind of surly, crotchety, mean-spirited, kind of semi-racist.
That was House.
Yeah.
I feel like America likes that.
But he was like...
Yeah, you got to have a little...
He was like he should have had the moment in the pilot where there's like a stray puppy and he pets the puppy or rescues the puppy. So the audience knows, like, oh. Because the thing with House was, he was an asshole, but he was saving people's lives every single week.
Right.
So... You can get away with a lot when you're saving people's little kids' lives.
Right.
Cute little kids.
And also that's true to something in real life, which is doctors very often, very talented ones, do have a God complex.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, sometimes they are doing God's work, that James Woods looking prick.
Do you have a late night talk show God complex?
What would that be? I don't even know what that means. Do I think I'm the God of, well, we're not really late night. But
no one wakes up and watches your show in the morning. I always watch it at night. I always watch it.
People,
It's a 10 p.m. It's a 10:30 p.m. show.
well, it's on at 10, but if you just get to the second half hour, what are you missing? But it is one of the last shows that does have a lot of great numbers for appointment television.
That's awesome.
Like 7 here you can get it at 7 here on the West and 10 in New York. That's almost completely gone. I'm telling you, we are one of the last. Because even like the late night shows, people mostly watch clips of it, and they the idea of
even SNL. Like I watch clips on YouTube. I don't.
The idea of like watching that in real time would be like having root canal in Berlin. First of all, I mean, a lot of it, the show itself, I would want to slip fast forward through.
Yeah.
I mean, they get a hold of something good once in a while, and maybe more than once in a while, but it's a little wokey these days, which is the enemy of comedy. Sometimes they break out of it, but the players are always very talented.
Well, I'm not trying to kiss your ass, but I will say that I really think your show plays an important role, because you said on a show recently, you were like, I haven't changed. Like my politics have stayed the same.
That's true.
But the left has skewed this way and the right has skewed this way. And so it makes it appear that you've gone from like liberal to center to even inching towards center right. And I love what you're doing in terms of bridging conversations.
I don't really care.
People on the other side of the spectrum.
I appreciate that. I honestly don't care what people label me as, because I never really was a person who fit into a label. That when I first came out, they called me a libertarian. I guess I had said that word once, and anyway, it was like, okay, so I'm being called libertarian by people who probably don't even know what that is, and I haven't really looked into it that much myself. I mean, as far as, I think it's because I was open about smoking pot, and being single. So he's a libertarian. They don't think of it much past shit like that.
Yeah.
So there are parts of me that are libertarian. Yes, I always was for smoking pot and leading our private lives whatever way we want, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody else. If James Woods wants to go out with his friend's 20-year-old daughter and they're both happy with each other, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when that girl came forward and said that she had lost her virginity to David Bowie after he died. Yeah, this woman.
I don't remember. Yeah.
She was like 16 at the time. But she described it in glowing terms. The last thing she was sorry about it. First of all, she lost her virginity at the exact age when most kids do. I was 16. Okay.
To a rock god.
To who she said was gentle, loving, knowledgeable, was wearing a kimono. Really? That's better than some pimply-faced, stock boy at the A&P? I'm describing myself at that age, of course. No, I mean, just let us. So, am I a libertarian? I'm whatever makes sense. I can't ever believe why it's so hard in this country to achieve liberal but not stupid woke, fiscally sane but not cruel. Is that really that fucking impossible? Summer is here, and as the sun shines brighter, your skin deserves the utmost attention. Skincare isn't just a thing for women, and our friends at Caldera Lab are here to ensure your skin is well prepared for the season ahead. With Caldera Lab incorporated into your skincare routine, taking care of your skin has never been simpler. Their products are clinically proven and help visibly reduce wrinkles, fine lines, and signs of aging, giving you confidence and an impeccable first impression this summer. Don't miss out on joining the skincare revolution trusted by countless men. Use our exclusive link at calderalab.com/random to enjoy 20% off their best products. Caldera Lab creates high-performance men's skincare products, and the regimen leads off their product lineup, a twice-a-day routine to transform your skin. Inside this bundle, you'll find the clean slate, the base layer, and the good. The good is your go-to serum at night before bed. In every drop of this serum, there are 3.4 million antioxidant units protecting your skin. Want to know what that means? I have no clue, but that's a shitload of units. Take the leap to skin royalty with Caldera Lab. Get 20% off with our exclusive link at calderalab.com/random. That's 20% off by going to calderalab.com/random. Elevate your skincare game this summer with Caldera Lab. Do you like true crime? Check out the new season of Hot and Deadly, a true crime podcast from ID about murder and betrayal. These episodes feature direct audio from ID's all-American true crime shows, Swamp Murders, Highway to Hell, and Southern Fried Homicide. You'll hear from investigators and family members close to these cases and learn about some shocking stories, like how a bank president was found at the bottom of a swamp and what happened when a former prom teen went missing. You can also listen to all of Season 1 now. It's a lot of true crime and all available to listen to today. Listen to Hot and Deadly wherever you get your podcasts.
You know, I think part of the problem is, and it's something I address in my book, we don't have to talk about.
No. We're here. I'm so sorry.
We're promoting things.
I wasn't going to forget it, although.
It's got lots of God stuff in it. You're going to hate this book, Bill. I'm so glad you did.
Soul Boom. I eat it for breakfast. Why we need a spiritual revolution. Well, I am going to crack this. I'm actually be very interested to read this. Wow. You really spent some time on this.
I did. I spent 3 years writing
you filled up all these blank pages.
Yeah. I wrote all of those words myself.
Did you know before you started that it was going to be 272?
I had no idea.
And yet it happened.
It happened.
I think that's the work of God. And when I say God, I mean James White. Okay, Soul Boom. Why do we need a spiritual revolution? So what kind of a book is this? This is not a novel.
No, it's a book on spirituality. It's right up your alley.
Well, but spirituality is such a vague term.
It is a vague term.
So you could define it in a way that I would completely embrace.
Yeah, well, I have a whole section on why I love and respect atheists in here.
But you are not one.
I'm not an atheist.
Right.
I'm a full-blown theist, but I love atheists.
Is that because of that night with the pot and the God face?
No, it really isn't. It was a long, many years of search, and it came from a lot of personal pain and struggle and turmoil, where I really went on a kind of a spiritual quest in my 20s, where I was trying to figure out why the fuck I was so unhappy and
What's
conflicted.
the most painful thing that ever happened to you?
Rhett, you sound like my therapist.
You have a therapist?
I've had a therapist for 21 years.
Isn't that proof it's not working?
No, I'm doing great.
It's amazing.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
Like,
eat your words. I am happy, content.
Really?
In a rich, fulfilling marriage.
Oh, great.
I'm doing incredible creative projects. I've got my life on track and a rich, deep perspective that for 50 minutes a week for 20 years at great expense. Sorry, Hollywood. He has helped me on this path.
Okay.
So it's absolutely worth the money.
Okay. So
I have a New York Times best-selling book. I have a successful show on Peacock.
Oh, yeah.
And
we're going to plug that
do you need
too.
A cough drop?
No.
Do you need a Heimlich? Do you need a hand job?
No. Well, keep talking. No, I like where this is going. Free, right? No.
So God.
But wait. Go back. I want to get to the Peacock in a minute, so don't forget that. But the thing you were saying, it's first of all nice to hear someone, and especially you, say how much you actually appreciate and am enjoying your life, because a lot of people are not happy like that.
Yeah.
But my question to you is, are you saying to me that you wouldn't be in this happy state if it wasn't for the therapist?
I don't know. I can't say that. But I do know that this guy I've been working with is really brilliant and has helped me. Actually, a lot of my family members have seen him as well. And it's been a great guide. And also, in addition to therapy, and this is going to blow your mind, you're going to love this. I'm such a Hollywood elitist. He does hypnosis. I do hypnosis.
Well, I think a lot of them do. Isn't that part of how they get into your brain?
I don't know. Not really. Not really. Yeah.
So I hear from what I read that therapists are not just for completely crazy people anymore. Is there any truth to that? Because when I hear therapists, I think, oh, you're nuts. So you have to go to this doctor to fix
Well,
it.
I am nuts, and I've had a
But we
lot
all
of
are.
struggles, and I've had a lot of, I've had a lot of really dark times. You asked me what the darkest time
Yeah,
is.
what's
I'm
the-
not, I'm not
what-
gonna
what's
I'm
the
not gonna
bad-
get really specific.
What's the bad shit, man?
Well, I'm not gonna go completely there, but I will say that
Did someone
I
touch-
had many sleepless nights, with addiction issues and suicidal ideation and anxiety attacks that would render me shaking on the floor, and
I'm guessing this
depressive
is all
episodes.
before The Office.
This was all before The Office. Although
Right.
I had some bad times during The Office too.
I bet you not as bad.
Not as bad.
Right, because I feel like I went through the same thing, which was, when I was a failing loser, life sucked and I felt sucky about it.
No.
And then when I was doing better and
That's not
success,
true.
no,
That's absolutely
Success
not true.
came your
I
way.
was not I was not a failing loser. I was a
was.
struggling actor. And
well,
I
that's
was,
a failing loser. And then you became
Wait a second.
a
Struggling
giant,
actor is not failing loser. I was getting acting work. I was living in New York. I was a
come
theater
on,
actor.
show business is a hit or miss league, babe. Hit or miss. You know what? If you make or miss, I'm sorry, that's the term the NBA uses. It's a make or miss league, show business. If you are, you want to call it working or starting, or if you're not,
What
if you
about
have
this?
it,
What
if you're
about-
not doing well, if you're not
Hold on a
riding
second.
high, you're riding low. There's no middle in show
What about
business.
being an artist? What about, because that's that's how I viewed myself.
Oh, well.
I was a theater artist. I went to theater school and I was a theater artist and I was making plays about the human condition.
Yeah, but you really wanted to be on a hit show.
I didn't. I swear I didn't. Eventually I was like, fuck, I'd love to pay off these student loans. I better get some TV gigs. Of course. I didn't have aspirations for stardom at all. I've looked this weird, ungainly.
But that's why you're happy, is because your life, you chose a, look.
No, it's it's not circumstantial, dude.
Who would know better, me or you?
I'll let the audience decide. Put it in your YouTube comments.
Who would know better about you? Come on, me or you? Okay, but I just think maybe you're not.
When I was in The Office, I spent several years really mostly unhappy because it wasn't enough.
Enough
And this
what?
is what I'm looking at now, and I'm realizing now, like, I'm on a hit show, Emmy nominated every year, making lots of money working with like Steve Carell and Jenna Fisher and John Krasinski and these amazing writers and incredible directors like Paul Feig. I'm on one of the great TV shows. People love it.
Right. All-time classic.
And I wasn't enjoying it. I was thinking about, why am I not a movie star? Why am I not the next Jack Black or the next Will Ferrell? And how come I can't have a movie career? And why don't I have this development deal?
That's so honest.
And why don't...
That's so honest, and that's so what everybody, to a degree, in show business is.
Yeah.
Everybody who's not at the absolute tippity-toppity top of that tall ladder called stardom is like, yes, and you're like, wow, you're a terrific actor and you're doing very well. You're not Brad Pitt? Okay, they was only gonna make one of him, but that's very much, and speaking of Succession, I always thought Logan Roy was a great example of the exact person you don't want to be. The person who has so much, and yet they are constantly in a terrible mood and angry about, are we going to be circling for another hour?
Yeah.
Life is going 99% right, and they obsess on the 1% that they can't control and they can't have.
There's a lot of ways out of an emotional situation like that. You can go to some therapeutic tools. You can look to positive psychology. You might say, just common sense, enjoy what you have. That might be your take. For me, there are some spiritual lessons from, like, let's say Buddhism, around realizing that the Buddha said that life is suffering, and the reason that we suffer is we have such attachment to outcomes and to things that we're clutching, that we're grasping, and that if we can release our clutching and our grasping and our attachment, then we can release a lot of the misery of being alive. And when I was on The Office, I was clutching and grasping at, I was making hundreds of thousands, I wanted millions, and I was a TV star, but I wanted to be a movie star. It was never enough. And humans have lived for hundreds of thousands of years, and never enough has helped us as a species.
Yes, it has.
And we've survived because of it. But in the modern world, when we've got our Instacart and our Grubhubs and our stocked bars, we're fine. And this never enough kind of impulse is ripping us apart. It's one of the things ripping us apart. This is part of what Soul Boom is about, is some spiritual tools to help us find greater wholeness and well-being.
Yeah, I get that side of it. There's also the other side of it, which is Buddhism, first of all, was started at a time when life was very painful. So the philosophy of, if I just shut out how I feel about things, then I won't experience pain if I don't attach to anything. That made sense when life was shitty and you were wiping your ass with bark. But it's kind of antiquated now, because, we did get to this place where we can have really cushy lives. Even middle-class people, only the very poor really live in a kind of state, even what they used to call extreme, I guess they still call it extreme poverty, but just in this century, we greatly reduced extreme poverty. People who live on like $1 a day. Sure. People who are shitting in the street. Yeah. I mean, I'm not talking about LA. I mean, like places... Yeah.
Child deaths during childbirth.
Yes, they've made great strides.
Starvation, poverty.
Just a lot of the world lives somebody who was alive even 100 years ago looks like an incredibly cushy life with incredible conveniences, and as soon as we take them in, we take them for granted. And But
Thoreau says the mass of men live lives of quiet desperation, and I think that's true, because I think that whether it's a middle-class life and you're working a job and you're making 60, 70 grand a year and you've got Domino's pizza on the table, like, how many people living that life are truly, like, satisfied and content? Maybe some are. I'm sure some are. And how many people in these Hollywood hills that surround you, I won't give your address. I want to give it right now. I want to, so that they beep it out. I want to do it so bad, but I'm not going to.
Come on. How many people do the trifecta? Come late, mispronounce my name, and give my address.
I was on time.
Hit the hat trick, baby.
I was on time, 5:35. I was 5 minutes late.
I'm just kidding.
Oh my God, I'm gonna kick your ass.
No.
I could kick your ass.
Yeah,
just admit it.
I'm sure you
I'm
could.
beefier.
You are.
You're willowy. You might be gainly, but you're also willowy.
It's funny. I have Chuck Liddell is the guest after you today.
Okay.
So, I mean, I was thinking before I came over here, well, if there's one guy I don't want to get in a fight with, and it turned out to be you.
It's me. Of the people living here in the Hollywood Hills and the people that you know, how many people live lives of grace and contentment with their lot?
Okay, but where did you read that you're promised grace and contentment and pure happiness in life? That's not what life is. Life is a game, and if you win it, you're probably in a minority. And even if you do win it, you don't win it 12 to 1. You win it 7-5.
I see why you love the ending of Succession so much. You're like, life is a shit and then you die kind of.
No, life is not. No, I'm saying life is good.
Yeah.
And even people who, I'm telling you, 100 years ago, people did not have lives as easy and good as we have them. We forget that.
And yet people are more unhappy than they've ever been.
How the fuck do you know?
Because you can look at suicide rates for Gen Z people. They've tripled in the last 20 years.
That's true.
Yeah,
That
the mental
generation,
health,
yes.
the mental health crisis
Okay,
is
well,
out of control right
That's
now.
true, but now we're talking about a different subject. We're talking about the advent of social media and smartphones, which is only about 12, 15 years old.
I don't know that
That-
100% of this
that is
mental
all,
health.
Oh, that is all where that's
I
coming
think there's a big percentage, but could it be 30, 40%?
But of course, it's tied in with the materialism because what do what is Kylie Jenner selling when
but
she's
climate anxiety and political division and disunity and
kids don't care about that shit. They pretend they do. They don't give a shit about the climate. They want to be on Kylie Jenner's private plane.
Hold on a second.
They want to own that plane. They do not give a shit about.
Bill, when you have a podcast, you need to ask your guests some questions and let them talk every once in a fucking while.
You've talked quite a bit, and this is not a kind of a podcast where I ask anybody questions. I don't. Is that how you conduct your personal?
Who said that life was where you go on a podcast and they ask you questions?
Yeah, that's why
life is going on a podcast and you got to fight to get a word in edgewise.
You don't have to fight. You haven't fought all night. You've had plenty of time to talk, and you have plenty of time now to talk. But this podcast is not like those other podcasts, which is why it's doing better.
It is
because it's
pretty
actually interesting, and it's actually what I would really be doing with you, who I don't know.
I love it. My son woke up one morning. I'm not kidding. He was 18 years old. I came in to the kitchen, and he was really distraught. His head was in his hands. And I was like, Walter, what's going on? And this is an absolutely true story. He goes, I just can't fucking believe it. And I was like, what? He goes, the Biden administration approved this pipeline in Alaska. Like they just signed a Green New Deal a few months earlier, and now they've okayed this gas pipeline and no one cares about it. And it's not even in the news. Like, don't they even care about my generation? He was distraught. He was really seriously upset about it.
Okay, he's the son of you. He's a kid who lives in LA. He's in this kind of world, what the middle of the country would call the elitist coastal types, So I understand. I don't think he's wrong. I think it's great that there are kids like that, and there are kids like that. It's probably 15, 20% of the kids. It's not most of the kids in the country. And trust me, I bet you if he was, give him a few years, he might be the kind of person who actually would fly on a private jet or would love to own one.
Well, to calm him down.
Have you ever flown on a private jet?
I took him in my Tesla down to get a latte and get his chakras balanced. And he felt so much better afterwards. And I've flown on a private jet a handful of times.
I do it every weekend.
Hey. I got no judgment. No judgment.
I did a piece on it this year on the show. I was saying everybody who in Hollywood who pretends to be an environmentalist, and I put myself in that category, I said I can stand being called a bad environmentalist. I can't stand being called a hypocrite. And everybody, all these environmentalists, I had pictures of all of them. They all, Leonardo DiCaprio. I mean, everybody. We all love the environment, but no one can resist a private jet. And until they outlaw all jets, it doesn't really matter.
Or they just make it prohibitively expensive with taxation that goes toward I don't know, carbon decreasing carbon emissions and some other.
They could do that.
Yeah.
They could do that.
Well, the problem is that has been weaponized by the political right so much, where if I send out a tweet about climate change, they'll be like, you're a Hollywood celebrity and Leonardo DiCaprio takes his private jet everywhere, so shut the fuck up. It's like, okay, Leonardo DiCaprio takes a private jet everywhere. That may or may not be a good thing. Maybe he shouldn't do that. I don't know if he's doing other things to help the environment, to counterbalance that.
What could you possibly do to counterbalance
You
that?
could buy 1 million acres of rainforest and not let it get cut down in the Amazon.
You could do both.
That's what I'm saying. Could you do both? That's what a counterbalance is. But the point is that people look at him and that hypocrisy, and they're like, so why should I do anything? Why should anyone do anything? Leonardo DiCaprio it's like, he may be on a jet, but you know what? Heat trapping gases going into the atmosphere are fucking us, and they're fucking up our grandkids, and that doesn't change just because Leo's in a jet.
Why can't we buy the Amazon? Why can't all the people
I think it's a great idea.
I do too. You mean no one's ever said that?
We could start that.
I'd love to.
Let's hear from you on YouTube.
That is something I would actually give. I mean, I've given.
Hey, Brazil, we will give you $300 billion We'll pay off your entire debt and give us half the Amazon, and you can't cut it down for the good of the planet.
Yeah, I always think if you throw money at a problem, it goes away. I know that sounds cynical and succession-y, but it's also true. I mean, I'm telling you, if you want a parking spot and you have $100, you can get a really good one. I mean, anywhere.
All right.
You know,
All right.
I'm not saying you should do it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's a bigger version of that.
Okay.
But I don't know why anybody hasn't thought of that before. I know that there are people in this country, like Ted Turner used to own, or probably still does, his estate does. Ted's gone, right? Yes. Oh, no.
I think he's 107. I really
Well, I'm
feel
sorry,
like
Ted, if you're
we
not.
really need an app that's like dead or not dead, because there's so many people that I have no idea. Ernest Borgnine. I don't know if he's alive or dead. I don't know.
think Ernest has passed. I think
Yeah, you think?
Ernest
I
is
don't-
gone.
yeah.
Yeah. But Mikhail's Navy, right?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, well,
yeah,
I definitely
yeah,
know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Marty is what I'm thinking. Marty
Marty,
Borgnine.
that was before my time, but I know.
Classic. There's a lot of environmentalists and rich people that have bought up big acreage, but I think
feel
it's
like
great.
is something. I mean, twice I gave $1 million to a cause, you know, to Obama. I in 2012, I wanted to establish that because they had just passed Citizens United.
Yeah.
You know, in 2010, and so the limits had been lifted on how much you could give, and there was all these $1 million and up donations that the Republicans were gathering, and I thought, oh God, we have to have this man reelected, not just because he was the best candidate at the time, but because it was very important. I thought that the first black president get a second term, because if it was just one, people would talk. Let's just say that. Oh, he didn't really. He was a one-termer.
Yeah,
you know, that's like a real albatross hung on.
Yeah, it's like being a one-hit wonder as a rock band. You know,
that's hysterical, but it kind of is.
It is.
It really is.
Yeah.
It is the same stigma. I mean, Jimmy Carter, who I thought was one of our best, most underrated presidents.
Yeah.
But and boy, talk about a guy who knows how to hang in there. I mean, I don't know when this is airing, so
he's still going.
But
that's the app. Dead, not dead. He's not dead, but he's been in hospice for like a month.
I mean, he got brain cancer at 94 and beat it. This guy, and this is the guy who can't wait to meet Jesus.
Yeah.
And then, like, he's been in hospice. Like I mean, they have his obituary on speed dial at the New York Times. I mean, they just kind of pressed send. But this guy's
I think
like,
the answer is peanuts.
Peanuts.
Longevity.
Now the kids are going to have to Google.
Yeah, but remember, there was that whole October surprise with the Reagan administration and Iran-Contra, and not an Iran-Contra, but paying the Iranians to not release the hostages before the election kind of thing. That was one of the first big, like, behind-the-scenes election scandals. Most people still don't know that happened, and that really cost Carter the election. I mean, he might have lost anyway, but it sealed his fate.
For the kids who believe that everything that didn't happen before they were born didn't happen, what happened was January 20th, my birthday.
My birthday.
You're January 20th? Get out of town.
Dad? January 20th. January 20th.
How fucking funny is that we would come to this moment.
Look at this.
Like not, you know.
It's so tender.
I thought it went better in rehearsal. But
January 20th.
January 20th.
Yeah.
It's a little club.
Along with Federico Fellini.
Howard Hughes.
Okay. David Lynch, I think.
George Burns.
Okay, nice. It's a good day.
Kellyanne Conway.
No.
Yes. She's got to be in our club. Okay. So anyway, our birthday, January 20th, 1980, Reagan is being elected, is being inaugurated.
Yep.
And the Iranians, who had the hostages for over a year, released them like right at the moment of the, like
3 days later. Yeah.
No, like that day. Or inauguration day.
Yeah.
Like as soon as that's like how much they hated Carter.
And we were so naive at the time that most people thought it was just coincidence, or they thought it was Reagan's great, brave leadership that kind of forced them out of.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. That was certainly the right wing apology for that moment was Oh, yes. Well, they were so afraid of just his shadow.
Yeah.
They saw his shadow and they just said, we give up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he looked a lot like James Woods at that time. Well,
Less
anyway,
pockmarked.
Anyway, I found this to be very fascinating, I must say. I appreciate you rolling with all the ornery-isms that I have as a host.
Are you winding this up?
I have to because there's another guest here.
You double booked me?
We always knew this. We tape these, for like all TV shows do like this because, not that this is a TV show.
Did you get like a flashing light that said second guest is here or something like that?
No. There's a clock right there.
Oh, look at that.
Right. So
wow, I didn't even see
we
it.
did an hour, which is what we did. But
Bill, listen, we may not see eye to eye at all on anything. No, we do. I think politically we do.
I think we see eye to eye a lot.
Yeah. But I'm really not kissing your ass, but I just honor what you do.
Oh,
and
thank you.
You've been an inspiration. You've made me chortle, and I think you're just engaged in like some of the most valuable conversations going on in our current Western civilization.
I truly appreciate you saying
and
I really
truly mean it.
I could tell, and coming from you, it means a lot.
Yeah.
And one reason I wanted to do this podcast or a podcast is because as much as I do love doing that, there just is a whole nother way that you can talk to somebody. And it's not politically driven, although it drifts there sometimes. But the whole point of it is that it drifts. And I'm only saying this because you were joking before, and I am sorry if I cut you off.
No, please.
Okay.
Give me a
But
break.
like
I'm
you were
just giving
joking
you shit.
before.
You can take it.
I know, absolutely. And you were joking about, like, ask a question. And it's like, that's what I do on my real show. And real time is my real job and my real show and my real love. But I also like sitting around bullshitting with people, which is what I do like any Wednesday night anyway.
Sure.
The fact that I can do it with the likes of you is just fantastic because, like, it's just different. And just like my whole career has been trying to get the realest type of conversation that I have in my real life on film so that other people can see it.
Yeah.
And I feel like I approximated it as well as you can under the conditions of a HBO talk show with senators and governors, but it's not like this.
Sure.
This is like, to me, there's really no difference if there had been no cameras rolling. I would have said the exact same thing, and I think you would have too.
I was a little more self-conscious because there's cameras rolling, and I'm like, I'm on Bill Maher's show, and when is he gonna jump me ideologically? But I agree 100%, and I love that you didn't even ask, and you don't need to ask about my new show on Peacock streaming service.
I told you
called Rainn Wilson and the Geography of Bliss.
I have plugs too. See, I
streaming
told you.
now on Peacock, where I travel the world looking for happiness, because I, unlike Bill, believe that happiness, well-being, satisfaction, and wholeness is possible and achievable and is something we can strive for. Peacock, you're not subscribing. Turn that around, America. Subscribe to the old Peacock. Watch Office reruns, which old Bill here loves, and check out the new Rainn Wilson streaming show. Bill, what do you got? You're playing, Chuckles Comedy Casino and Bismarck, North Carolina on April 22nd. With Fluffy is opening. What do you got?
Okay, but I did warn you I was going to forget.
I know.
You did a great job.
The producers warned me. It's like, Bill is going to forget to plug. Whatever you got, you've got to do it yourself.
But the Peacock show is on already?
Yeah,
or
it's now. It's just out for a week and a half, Okay. The Geography of Bliss.
So you're going around the world.
Yeah.
Like, where's a place that's blissful?
Iceland, kinda.
Oh yeah, that is the reputation for that for sure.
Of course, it has a really high suicide rate and like one of the largest percentages of people on antidepressants. So you got to weigh it. But there's a lot of happiness and bliss to be found there.
It's fucking cold.
It is.
Well, I will not be in Iceland. I'll August 19th to be at the Ovens Auditorium in Charlotte, North Carolina. Oh, I love Charlotte. August 20th at the Township Auditorium in Columbia, South Carolina. I love the way they put the Carolinas together
Oh, that's so
on
nice.
these swings.
Why isn't there one Carolina? Do we really need
Why
North and a
isn't-
South?
Actually, you could make the case for the Carolinas. Why are there two Dakotas?
There should not be two Dakotas.
Totally. I'm not sure there should be one.
Also, why Delaware? Give me a break.
Yes.
Who
well,
the hell?
Right, but
Right, Maryland and Delaware. Just make it Melloware.
All right, thank you. I gotta go.
Bye, Bill. Thanks. Are we going? Are we hugging? What's happening? I don't know what's happening. Hug the fuck out of you. Thanks for having me. This was fun,
Thanks for
man.
being
You're
had.
awesome.
Club Random.
You can't say it's not real.
It is real time.
No, that's the other one.
Club Random.